JB,
Dr. Brooks,
how are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I love the shirt. I got to tell you.
Thank you. I am a United States citizen and I love my country. Of
Same. Yeah, you gotta love it. I grew up very, very patriotic, and I don't see enough of that in my world. So thank you for that. I love that.
course.
Well, this little miracle healings is designed to have real people come on and encourage other people that might be in a tough spot. So I'm so appreciative of you giving some of your time today. It's really meaningful, and not everybody wants to, and also I don't know that everybody should necessarily, but you've really fought some very sincere battles after years of kind of hacking through things a certain way. And anytime somebody becomes teachable late in the game, it's very impressive. And so you're a tough guy. You had a lot going on as as a little one. You had a pretty rough go and got into some patterns that weren't terribly healthy, but were willing to come in and kind of look at those under a microscope and say, well, what can I do? Yeah, I can see now. I couldn't see before, but now I can see. So now what can I do? And then to make those adjustments, I mean, as a grown man is awesome. So maybe just start off by saying, how did you finally kind of come to that into that space where you knew that you had to make some adjustment? Like what were some of those things that were in your life that you're like, okay, I can't do it this way anymore. Like I've got to make some changes.
Well, the honest truth is my wife was the big reason why we chose the bridge to help me out. I come from, out of college, I was in the Silicon Valley, revenue analyst, sold equipment to the big tech companies. And then after 9/11, I said, well, how can I give back? So I decided to go into law enforcement. Um, so did that and did that for about 16 and a half years until I medically retired. And the one thing that I unfortunately did was I suppressed all my emotions. I didn't want to burden my family with telling them about all the violence and the bad things that I saw on a daily basis. And what that did was it helped me not be the best husband dad that I could have been. It took until November of 22 for me to tell my family I do need help. My wife found the bridge. She talked to the bridge. I talked to the bridge. I was on text messages with Brad in February to do the Zoom meeting with past participants.
Yeah.
And at that point, I told myself, I don't need to do this. I can do it myself.
Mm.
Well, that didn't work.
Yeah.
And so this past beginning of July, few incidents at home. And at that point, I decided, let's do it. My wife said, yes, do it. And so I did it. So that's how I got to the bridge.
Nice. Well, and when you came, I mean, I remember we had some pretty stout chats, and you were just dipping your toes into this idea that you might somehow be involved in some of this chaos that your life had been creating. And I think that was a big shift. Before it was like, look, I'm just doing my thing. I'm trying to like keep my head above water. I don't want to burden anybody. But you made this really interesting cognitive shift, and I remember those few days when you just got soft and you started to say things like, look, I want to learn. I can tell that this isn't going to be good for the rest of my life. I can tell that this is going to hurt my wife if I don't make some deep adjustments. I don't want to lose my family or my marriage. Like I don't, some of these things that I've worked hard for my whole life. I just haven't had the skills to really make them wonderful. But now I not only can see that I can get the skills, but I want them to be wonderful. So you made this shift from being a little bit resistant, I would say, if that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense, into
Nope,
this
it
place into
does.
this place where you're like, no, I want to do this. And you got soft and you started to really learn and started to really, really get interested in your own development. And I mean, that's spectacular. But what was it like to shift into that space where you're like, I'm
Well,
done. I can see I'm done doing this. I want to adjust.
well, I mean, just to give you, I mean, you know it, but to give those who may see this, um, I come from being abused by my dad. Um, I was adopted. Um, my wife was my wife. My mom was 21 years old, and she chose to have me, which I thank God. Um, but I went into foster care for at least a couple, 2, 3 months. Um, and during the bridge, I learned quite a bit about what happens when you're abused and you don't, I guess, get upset, angry, consult. Um, and that was basically my subconscious told myself I was at fault. And what that did was my body did not was I was not safe subconsciously. So I felt everyone was out to get me. So getting back to how I became much more open, yeah, the first when I first got there, I wasn't sure, what was going on, but after, like you said, a couple, 2, 3, 4 days, I realized that the people who work the bridge were there for me. The people who were at the bridge, like I was, were there for me. Um, and for the first time in my life, I was honest to myself.
Mm.
Um, so the bridge opened me up to being honest about my past. I mean, I went into law enforcement, 3 car accidents in less than a year, PTSD, chronic pain, but I wasn't an excuse maker. I wouldn't say, "Oh, I'm doing this because." So what the bridge did, it allowed me to open up, be honest with me, be honest with the people around me, and you know me. After, like you said, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 days, I was talking nonstop.
Right.
I was letting everybody know my past, my present, and what I wanted in the future. And the future is what I am now working on, thanks to the bridge, which is being a much better person to my wife, my kids, my friends, and just basically to everybody.
Yeah. No, I
Uh,
love it. I love it. I think too, and the tricky part of that, I had the same experience. My wife left early, and I just I didn't have the development. But the wonderful part though is when you've still got your family like hanging around and sticking by you while you're developing. I mean, that's amazing because everybody's so invested. I mean, your kids and your wife. I mean, you guys have been together a long time. I mean, I had a really, I'll use the word, I had a pretty cheap year and 3 month marriage, the first go around. And she's like, peace out. I don't have enough invested in this thing. And and for you, like as you kind of work through the consequences of the years of not being developed, really, it's not your fault necessarily, but you've taken that responsibility. So into that new space, I mean, you've also got to kind of navigate. Now everybody's gonna, I mean, I think, I don't know this, I haven't talked to anybody in your family, but I'll bet you're going to get some sideways looks while they're kind of trying to decide, is he really serious? Is he really making these changes for the right reasons? Is this all, and that's a tricky part too. When you adjust deeply, you have to just be patient with, moving into that space, knowing that you're just doing it for the right reason, and everybody else gets to kind of pick and see what they're going to do. But um, I mean, I know you're still close to your family, but have you noticed that some in your situation are people kind of sideways looking, or are you embraced, or what's going on out there? Because I know,
well, uh, let's say I have talked to my kids, okay, and they see changes in me. Um, I'm in Colorado right now. I'm from the Bay Area, so I have not gone home to my wife yet because she needs to see somehow, because we're not verbally communicating,
Okay.
we're communicating over text, and we're doing it on a daily basis. But I mean, 20 years of what I did to my family, and she needs to see that I truly have changed, because many times, I would do something stupid and I would say, "Oh, I'll change, don't worry." Um, and the things I did, I never meant to. I never woke up in the morning and said, "I'm going to be a jerk
I'm gonna be a jerk. Yeah.
to my wife,
Yeah.
my kids." It just happened because my body was being defensive subconsciously. And what's the best way to feel safe is to get the people who your body feels are threatening you to turn away. So I became really good at that.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, it makes sense, right? I mean,
well,
that makes sense. So as you kind of dive into this place where everybody just gets to be themselves, and so just forgetting about everybody else for a minute, how are you maintaining that shift? Because that shift is profound. And I'll use it because, we're not too far away in age. But I mean, as you make those deep shifts, they're scary because you actually have an identity that you're walking away from, and you have a lot of consequence of that identity. But irregardless of everybody else, when it's just you and the dark of the night, you're just JB. Like, how do you stay focused and committed to those changes and not freak out or panic or run back, or like what's keeping you grounded?
well, um, I've changed. My basically my daily routine is I wake up probably anywhere between 6:30 Mountain Time, which is 5:30 Pacific, where I'm from. And first thing I do is I meditate. I use the Calm app and I meditate. The next thing I do is I go. Ascension has Father Schmidt, Catholic, because I'm Catholic, and I do Bible in a year. I do a gratitude every day, and I go to mass. So I go to mass 6 days a week. I go to until July 20th in Utah, when I was almost going to the bridge. I hadn't gone to confession in 40 years.
Wow.
And on the 20th of July, I went to confession. I walked in, said, "Father, forgive me for I have sinned. It's been at least 40 years since my last confession." Now I go every 2 weeks.
And then you heard the guy behind the curtain break out a sandwich and a soda. Like, oh no, no, I'm just
Except for he wasn't behind the curtain. He was right next to me.
oh no, that's
I,
awesome.
I go face to face.
I like it.
But the hardest part for me is the downtime, because I
Yeah.
can't occupy my time 24 hours a day.
Right, right.
Um, like I said, I do Meals on Wheels now, which I just got back before we did this.
Nice.
Um, I volunteer with Catholic Charities, and I've been doing this consistently for past coming on month,
Nice.
which does not mean I'm changed. What it means to me is that I am truly dedicated to changing,
Yeah. No, it's
which is what my kids and my wife and everyone around me needs, is me to be a much more sensitive, friendly person. I mean, I hike every day. I say good morning to everyone I see. I say good afternoon. I talk to everybody now, and maybe I'm a little annoying, but
probably not.
it's a new me, and I just pray to God that I can keep doing this for the remainder of my life.
Yeah. And you will. I mean, you'll have ups and downs. You'll have developmental issues like I do, like every human does. If you really get into that stream of improvement and you really join hands with your creator, there's not much rest necessarily. It's like, hey, look, like for me, I'll speak for myself. It's like, well, you got to do better. Work on that little nuance, shave that off a little bit, work on that, like calm down, trust a little bit more, have a little more faith, all of that is just an ongoing process. So
But
I'm, but you're in that stream. So all you have to do is just stay there, and those lessons and those experiences and that development will just keep happening and coming and coming and coming. So I'm proud of you, man. That's hard. That's
Thank
hard.
you.
And
Thank you.
I think I'm especially proud of you, and I think I'm especially impressed by you because of the length of time you had in a particular pattern of thought and that spilled out into your actions. Most people with that long of a history and that much defensiveness and that much kind of survival in that autopilot, they don't escape that. I mean, this is not doom and gloom, but a lot of people will die with that because it's just too scary and too much effort to crack through that stuff. I mean, nobody wants to do that anyway, but after years and years and years of that pattern, it's very dangerous psychologically to you to be like, man, if I leave behind this identity, I mean, yeah, I know it's causing trouble, but I don't know what to expect. I don't know where I'm going exactly. I don't know exactly what I'm doing, but I do know that I can't stay there. But I mean, instead of staying there out of the insecurity, the fear, the whatever, like the fact that you've cracked through that and are moving out into this place is just awesome. Like, I'd like to do a follow-up meeting with you in a year and
I
just, you know what I mean? And just say, hey, how's it been? How's it going? Like, what have you learned? Where you at? Like, what's going on? So I'd love to do that. I'd love to put that on the schedule and let's chat after you've had a chance to let some of this stuff just soak. But if you knew somebody, I would take much more of your time, but if you knew somebody was home, really needing to get well and had been stuck in a pattern for a long time, what advice would you give them?
My advice would be to go to the bridge.
Well,
Um,
I
no, I
appreciate
know.
that. Yeah.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Um, the reason why I say that is I've tried on my own. Okay.
Yeah.
I realized when, I mean, more my wife than my kids are grown, but I mean, I can't say how many times that I truly, and I'm gonna start crying, which you've seen me do before.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, I pray the Lord to not have me wake up because I was hurting my wife
Mm.
so bad. And not suicidal, because that hurts the family more than it hurts you. Um, but I couldn't stop doing it. So fortunately, the bridge taught me so much, and for the first time in 48 and a half years, because at the bridge with Kim doing our rapid eye, we determined the age that I was first abused was 8 years old. So
Mm.
48 and a half years of not being honest to myself, not being honest to therapists, not being honest to anybody. The bridge opened me up. And as you know, everyone at the bridge and all the people that were there with me knew everything about me
Yeah.
because I started talking and I couldn't stop.
Well, there's no way around. Eventually you have to go through. And I say that to everybody, including myself. Like eventually, if you really want to make a deep adjustment, you can no longer go around. You have to go straight through the
Yes.
center. And
Yes.
and that's the beauty of the work that I got to witness with you is that you decided for the first time that you were unwilling to keep skirting and talking and defending and well maybe this and it's somebody else that could have done that better whatever and you decided just to get quiet and resolved and go straight through the center. So that's I mean that's been awesome to watch and still watching like that's been spectacular.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I just hope everyone else in my family can see that and actually believe it.
Well, as they bump into you, as you they get to snuggle up and rub shoulders and like whatever, however that works itself out, I don't know that. But however it does, they'll see and you'll know. And in the meantime, you can send that energy and they can feel that they can a lot of them, I'm convinced that friends and family are in tune enough that when you make an adjustment, it actually ripples out even across distance and time and silence and can actually shift some of that too. So it's never a bad idea just to keep doing the work, stay calm, stay, you know, in that space, keep checking in upstairs and, you know, keep trusting and working. And I mean, you're moving fast. You're moving fast. I'm proud of you. I think you're doing awesome.
Thanks, Doc. I appreciate that. And yeah, I mean, my goal in my life is to keep this going and not stop.
You will. You will. You'll have some. You'll get your nose bladed a few times. You're supposed to. That's the way it works. But yeah, I believe in you. I know you. I know you will. You're gonna do a
I
great.
I appreciate that.
Hey, thanks so much for the time. I kept you a little bit longer than I promised, but I still super appreciate it. And
Well,
we'll talk all the time. This isn't anything. This isn't the end, but I thanks for at least putting this out here to be a resource for other people in similar situations that are struggling, that I can send this to and say, hey, look, I got a graduate and a dear friend, JB, like listen to his story. Like listen, it's not too late. You can adjust. You can adjust for a lifetime. Don't give up. Like take it easy. Don't throw everything out. You can make these adjustments and make them stick and make them deep, even at any stage. So just hang in there. So this will be used for that. So I appreciate you letting me have this resource.
but I appreciate it. And if I can, if I can influence one person to make the changes that need to be made, like I'm in the process of doing, then I've succeeded.
I love it. I love it. There will be at least one, maybe even today. So
Okay.
thanks for meeting with me.
Appreciate it, Doc.
Love you, brother. Hey, thanks. We'll talk
Love you
to you
too.
soon.
Take care.
See you.